Welcome to the 1 Hour Guide by NEPQ. Okay, let's unpack this.
Yeah.
Today, we're diving into a book that's, well, it's radically reshaping how we think about connection and influence, especially, in the world of sales. We're talking about the new model of selling to an unsellable generation by Jerry Acuff and Jeremy Miner. It's a really insightful resource presented here in this special 1 Hour Guide by NEPQ.
It really is.
Our mission in this deep dive for you listening is to give you a shortcut, basically, a faster path to understanding why those sales tactics we've relied on, maybe for decades, are just failing today.
Right. They're hitting a wall.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And how a truly human-centered, neuroscience-informed approach can revolutionize not just selling, but really all forms of influence in your life.
Yeah.
This isn't just for the seasoned sales pros out there. It's for you if you're looking to inspire action, maybe lead teams better, foster change, or honestly just improve your personal communication, your relationships even.
And what's truly fascinating here, I think, is that this book isn't just another playbook for, closing more deals.
Right. It's deeper than that.
Much deeper. It's a profound exploration of how people actually make decisions, especially now in a world just saturated with information and skepticism and constant noise.
Constant demands on their attention.
Yeah, exactly. Acuff and Miner, they don't just tell you what to do. They really dig into the why. They explain the behavioral science, the emotional intelligence behind genuine influence.
Okay.
And if you connect this to the bigger picture, it suggests a fundamental shift, almost like an evolutionary change in human interaction that goes way beyond just commerce.
Interesting.
For leaders, these insights are pure gold, whether you're pitching investors, coaching your team through something tough, or trying to get a new strategy adopted.
Yeah, I could see that.
Entrepreneurs, too, they'll find a scalable, repeatable framework here, something that can drastically cut down rejection and help their message truly resonate with today's, let's face it, empowered consumers.
Empowered and skeptical.
Definitely skeptical. And look, for anyone just seeking self-improvement, the book challenges these really deeply ingrained mindsets. It pushes you towards a more empathetic, more effective approach in every interaction, moving away from trying to coerce people and towards real collaboration.
Okay, collaboration, not coercion. I like that.
That's the core idea. The problem with traditional selling, a sales crisis.
So let's get to the nitty-gritty then. What's the big issue here? Why are these old sales methods, the ones maybe we grew up with, maybe even built careers on, why are they just not working anymore? This is where it gets really interesting because it feels like it's more than just, a few outdated phrases.
Oh, it's far more profound than that. It's a fundamental disconnect, like you said.
Right.
Acuff and Miner, they start by laying out what they call, pretty emphatically, the sales crisis.
Oh, crisis, okay.
Yeah. They explain that the modern buyer is just a completely different creature than they were even, say, 10 years ago. They are utterly overwhelmed with information.
Oh, yeah? The internet effect.
Totally. Thanks in large part to what the authors call, and it's pretty accurate, I think, Google you.
Google you. I like it.
Buyers have basically earned a PhD in your product, your industry, your competitors before they even pick up the phone or agree to a meeting with you.
Wow. Okay, so they come prepared.
Extremely prepared. And this creates an incredibly high level of distrust towards salespeople. They're inherently resistant to those outdated tactics that, kind of surprisingly, a lot of sales pros still cling to.
Like what kind of tactics are we talking about?
Well, the obvious ones, the high pressure closes, the sign today stuff, the overly enthusiastic pitches that just feel fake.
Yeah, you can smell those a mile away.
Exactly. Or just pushing product features without any real deep understanding of the buyer's specific situation, their underlying problems, or even just their emotional state at that moment.
Right, just feature dumping.
Feature dumping. And there's this profound mismatch, it's almost comical sometimes, between what salespeople were traditionally taught, often techniques from total different eras, like the relentless always be closing mantra.
A classic, yeah.
A classic that doesn't work anymore. It just doesn't align with today's buyer psychology. We're living essentially in a post-trust era.
Post-trust.
People are bombarded. Ads, unsolicited calls, aggressive pitches everywhere. Their default setting is just skepticism.
Total skepticism.
So if you approach them with anything that even slightly smells like manipulation, boom, guard goes up instantly. The conversation is basically over before it even starts.
Okay, so the book breaks this down further, right? These hidden problems.
Yes. The new model of selling really pinpoints 7 hidden, kind of insidious problems with traditional selling that fuel this crisis.
Okay, let's hear them.
All right. First, Inconsistent definitions of selling. Just think about it. Ask 10 salespeople, what is selling? You'll probably get 10 different answers.
Huh. Yeah, that's probably true. Convincing, helping, closing.
Exactly. Some think it's convincing, others coercing, maybe educating, maybe just presenting. Without a clear, unified understanding, a shared mental model, sales teams end up operating on conflicting beliefs. It leads to scattered, inefficient, and ultimately pretty ineffective results.
Like a sports team where everyone has a different idea of how to score.
Precisely. It just doesn't work. Second, and this one's quite alarming, is the prevalence of outdated sales models.
Models from when?
Generations ago. Many techniques still taught today are based on frameworks from like the 1880s or 1970s boiler rooms. Imagine trying to use an 1884 script on a Zoom call today.
Yeah, okay, that sounds ridiculous.
It is ridiculous. These tactics were born in an era of information scarcity, buyer naivete. They just don't resonate. In fact, they actively repel modern buyers who value authenticity and collaboration.
Okay, so outdated models. What's third?
Third, pressure-based tactics consistently fail. This is huge, and the book really draws on behavioral science here.
Makes sense intuitively.
It does. Think about the last time you felt pressured into a decision. Buying a car, maybe. Agreeing to something you didn't want to.
Yeah. Not a good feeling.
No.
Makes you want to run away.
Exactly. Your primal brain sees pressure as a threat. It triggers fight or flight, shuts down rational thinking, and pushes you towards resistance, not compliance. Today's buyers want choice, autonomy. They hate coercion.
Okay, no pressure. What's number 4?
Fourth, needs-based selling, while better than just pushing products, is still insufficient.
Oh, I thought finding needs was key.
It's important, definitely. But the book argues people don't always act purely on logical needs. Knowing you need to lose weight doesn't mean you suddenly start eating salads, right?
Oh, true enough.
People need to be compelled to action emotionally. Traditional needs-based selling often misses that crucial emotional driver. It doesn't connect the logical need to the deeper why for change.
Got it. Emotional connection. What's 5th?
Fifth, modern buyers are fundamentally different. This isn't a minor tweak, it's a major evolution. They are cautious, they're empowered with tons of information. Remember, Google you.
Right, do you.
And they can spot manipulation or insincerity incredibly quickly. They value transparency. They expect a consultant, a partner, not some old school pitchman.
Okay, so they're smarter and more skeptical. Number 6.
Sixth, and to ties right into that, old methods trigger immediate resistance. Things like aggressive closing, scripted dialogue that sounds totally robotic.
Yeah, you can hear a script a mile off.
Totally. And assumption-based selling, like, so when you sign up today, it just causes instant walls. These tactics basically scream, I care more about my commission than your problem, and that just kills any hope of a real conversation.
Shuts it right down. Okay, and the last one, number 7.
Finally, and maybe the most critical, trust is at an all-time low. In this post-trust world, building credibility isn't just nice to have, it's absolutely essential to even start a real dialogue. If you're perceived as just another salesperson, you're already fighting an uphill battle against years of built-up skepticism.
Wow. Okay, that paints a pretty clear picture of the problem. It really is like trying to navigate a modern city with a map from like 100 years ago.
Exactly. You'll hit dead ends constantly.
So for you listening, maybe feeling some of that frustration, what are the first steps? What are some actionable insights from this diagnosis? How do we start changing those habits?
Great question, because diagnosing is one thing, fixing is another. For you, the listener, the first crucial action is to redefine selling for yourself. Seriously, this is a mindset thing.
Okay, redefine it how?
Stop thinking your job is to convince or close. Internalize this new definition. Selling is about helping prospects identify and solve their problems themselves.
Helping them persuade themselves.
Precisely. That subtle shift changes everything. It guides all your interactions towards collaboration, away from confrontation.
Okay, step 1. Redefine. What's next?
Second, you've got to identify and replace those outdated habits. This needs honest self-auditing. Take a hard look at your current tactics. Do you use assumptive questions? Do you lead with your pitch before you understand anything?
Be honest with yourself.
Brutally honest. If you catch yourself rattling off features in the first minute, that's an old habit. Consciously work to replace it with discovery-led dialogue. Prioritize understanding.
Makes sense. Third,
learn to disarm sales resistance. The second someone feels sold to, the guard goes up. You need to counteract that. Practice starting conversations with genuine curiosity, not an obvious intent to close.
so no leading with benefits right away.
Definitely not. Avoid benefits or features up front. Instead of our software boosts productivity 30%, don't know, try something like, I'm not sure if what we do is even relevant, but I was curious if you ever deal with common pain point. See the difference?
Yeah, much less threatening, more curious.
Exactly. Fourth, study buyer psychology. The book hammers this home. People buy emotionally, then justify logically. This is critical.
Emotion first, logic second.
Right. So your focus needs to shift from just listing logical reasons to buy to actually uncovering those deeper emotional motivations. What are their fears, frustrations, aspirations? How does the problem feel to them?
Okay, dig deeper emotionally. Number 5.
Fifth, build real trust early. Trust isn't demanded, it's earned. Show you understand their world. Really listen way more than you speak. Use a sincere, calm tone. Avoid exaggeration like the plague. Authenticity is key.
Authenticity, right. Number 6.
Sixth, drop the numbers game mentality. Stop measuring success just by call volume or demos booked. Focus on the quality of your conversations.
Quality over quantity.
Absolutely. Did they feel heard? Was there real emotional engagement? Did they feel understood? Those are the metrics that actually matter for building rapport and moving forward.
Yeah, and the last actionable insight.
Finally, and this one can be tough, create self-awareness through active reflection. Record your calls with permission, obviously.
Ooh, listening to yourself. That takes courage.
It does, but review them honestly. Where did engagement drop? Where did resistance pop up? Did you interrupt? Sound too eager? This critical self-analysis is your path to real improvement. Become an observer of your own communication. 2. Redefining selling and debunking sales myths. From closing to disarming.
That's a massive shift. It really is like realizing the game changed and you were still playing by the old rule book, wondering why you weren't winning.
Exactly, hoping for different results with the same approach.
So, if that old model is broken, what is this new definition of selling that Acuff and Miner propose? And what about all those ingrained sales truths we've heard forever? Get ready, folks, for some serious myth-busting, because this turns a lot of conventional wisdom completely on its head.
It really does, and they don't just point out the flaws. They offer a radical, yet honestly incredibly effective new definition. Selling, they redefine it as the process of helping potential buyers persuade themselves.
Okay, say that again. Helping potential buyers persuade themselves.
Exactly. It's not a monologue where you pitch and convince. It's a dynamic dialogue, a collaborative journey of discovery, not a forceful pitch.
So the salesperson is more like, what? A guide.
More like a curious therapist or an insightful consultant than, an aggressive pitch artist. This approach is deeply rooted in behavioral science, neuroscience, emotional intelligence. It's about structuring conversations to naturally lower resistance and bring out that genuine internal motivation from the prospect.
Because when someone persuades themselves...
the decision sticks. It's their decision, not one you pushed on them.
Right. And why are those old myths so dangerous? Why focus on debunking them?
Because, as the book wisely quotes JFK, the great enemy of the truth is very often not the lie, but the myth, persistent, persuasive, and unrealistic.
Powerful quote.
It is. These seductive, often repeated myths, maybe from old training, maybe even from those sales reality TV shows.
Oh, yeah, though.
They keep people locked into ineffective patterns. They create this cycle of rejection, pressure, resistance. To really succeed today, you have to consciously challenge and ditch them.
Okay, let's bust some myths. What are the big ones?
All right, the book highlights 6 really pervasive myths that undermine success. Let's tackle them. Myth number 1, selling is a numbers game.
Yes, just make more calls. The volume approach.
We've all heard it, but the reality, according to Acuff and Miner, is that just making more calls or sending more emails without genuine emotional engagement, it's incredibly inefficient, it's frustrating, it's a fast track to burnout.
So what's the focus instead?
The focus shifts fundamentally from quantity to quality conversations. It's about asking deeper questions, truly understanding the human on the other end, building trust, becoming magnetically relevant through authentic connection.
Yeah, hundreds of cold calls without connection sounds awful for everyone involved.
It is. A total waste of time and energy, often. It's like trying to build a relationship by just shouting at crowds. Doesn't work.
Okay, myth 1 busted. What's myth 2?
Myth number 2, rejection is just part of sales.
Oh, the thicken your skin advice.
Exactly. And this is damaging because it normalizes failure and discourages looking at why it happened. Acuff and Miner argue most rejection isn't inevitable. A huge chunk of it is actually caused by how you communicate.
How you communicate, like your words. Your tone?
Your words, your tone, the very structure of your questions. They can unconsciously trigger resistance. For example, leading with, "Are you open to saving money?" Sounds logical, right? But it instantly puts people on guard.
Yeah, it sounds like a trap.
It does. By learning to identify and remove these common triggers, rejection can be dramatically minimized. Not eliminated, maybe, but cut way down. This lets you have more real conversations.
Okay, less rejection by changing communication. Myth 3.
Myth 3. You must be enthusiastic.
Wait, enthusiasm bad. I thought energy was good.
This one surprises people. Sure, genuine interest is good, but excessive, artificial, high-pitched enthusiasm, it often overwhelms or repels buyers.
Why?
It can feel manipulative, inauthentic, maybe even desperate. Think about it. If someone's way too excited right away, don't you wonder what they're really trying to sell you?
Yeah. Makes you suspicious.
Right. Enthusiasm doesn't replace the need for real emotional connection or trust. What excites you, your cool product feature, rarely excites the buyer unless it's tied directly to their problems, their emotions. A calm, confident, curious tone, far more effective.
Calm, confident, curious. Got it. Myth 4.
Myth 4. The sale is lost at the end.
Focusing on the closing techniques.
Exactly. Classic misconception. The authors argue the sale is often lost right at the beginning, sometimes within the first 30 seconds.
Wow. The first 30 seconds.
Yep. If you don't establish trust and create emotional safety early on, no amount of fancy closing tactics or objection handling at the end will save it. Leading with a product pitch, for instance, triggers immediate resistance. The buyer thinks, oh great, here we go again.
Game over before it starts. Okay, myth 5.
Myth 5. Assuming the sale works.
Like, so whose name's on the contract? That kind of thing.
Exactly. That old school tactic. It creates immense pressure. It signals you don't care about their readiness, their process, their comfort level. It almost always backfires, makes the buyer feel cornered, manipulated, disrespected.
Yeah, nobody likes being pushed like that.
Nobody. The new way is guiding discovery, letting them arrive at their own conclusions, express their own readiness.
Makes sense.
No.
And the final one, myth 6.
Myth number 6. Always be closing ABC.
The most famous one, Glengarry Glen Ross.
The absolute epitome of aggressive, pressure-based selling. The new ABC, according to Acuff and Miner, is always be disarming.
Always be disarming. Okay, I like that. What does it mean?
Instead of relentlessly pushing for the sale, your main focus is on reducing resistance, asking much better questions, fostering a collaborative, non-threatening dialogue. Those traditional closing techniques, the choice close, the assumptive close, they're precisely what breeds skepticism today. People want guidance, not a push.
Wow. That really flips the script. It feels like understanding this could be a huge relief for people who hate that pushy feeling.
Absolutely, it's liberating.
So, practically, what steps can you, the listener, take to apply these myth-busting realities? How do we actually retrain ourselves?
Right, the how-to. First, and this takes some guts, audit your sales conversations. Seriously.
Record them again?
Yes. Record and review your calls. Listen for language that assumes, pressures, pushes. What was your tone? How did you open? Critically, note their responses. Did they open up or shut down? Self-awareness is everything here.
Okay, audit yourself. Second,
replace rigid scripts with real questions. Stop memorizing lines. Learn to ask thoughtful, layered questions that encourage reflection, not just knee-jerk reactions. Practice active listening, truly adjusting your next question based on what you just heard.
not just waiting for your turn to talk.
Exactly. Third, practice neutral, curious tonality. This is so powerful, but often overlooked. If your voice is pushy or overly eager, people resist. A calm, curious, almost understated tone dramatically lowers resistance, makes you sound human.
Tone matters. Got it.
Fourth, focus intensely on the beginning. Those first 30 seconds are critical. Establish trust, create safety, signal you're different. This is not pitch time. Show you understand their world, that you're there to help them, maybe not sell at them.
First impressions count, big time.
Fifth, stop trying to close. Start guiding. Let go of the need to force the sale. It sounds counterintuitive, but it's powerful. Your role is to guide the prospect to clarity about their situation, their potential solutions. Let the sale become a natural conclusion they reach.
Let them persuade themselves.
Exactly. And finally, create your own sales reality. This is personal. Consciously reject those old myths. Build a new belief system grounded in actual human behavior, neuroscience, ethical influence. This self-awareness, this intentional belief system, it leads to more genuine interest and paradoxically fewer objections because you've removed the triggers. It's about fundamentally changing how you see your role. 3, the power of your voice and unlocking access beyond words.
Okay, so if the goal is helping people persuade themselves, What's really going on when we communicate? It's clearly not just the words, is it?
Not at all.
It sounds like it's profoundly about how we deliver them, and maybe even critically how we get the chance to deliver them in the first place. This part of the book, in our deep dive, feels like it gets into some really subtle but powerful aspects of influence that most people just overlook.
That's absolutely right. And it raises that important question. What nonverbal cues are we sending, maybe without even realizing it? And how do those cues impact the entire interaction, sometimes before we even say anything meaningful?
Yep.
The authors highlight two critical areas often missed in traditional training: the power of your voice and the art of unlocking access, getting past those gatekeepers.
Right.
Using the power of your voice, chapter 5, your voice. It's an incredibly powerful persuasion tool, maybe one of the most underutilized.
Really. More than the words.
Often, yes. It's like a finely tuned instrument. It can create deep connection or immediate conflict. Think about it. People make snap judgments about you within seconds of hearing your voice.
Wow, seconds.
Yeah, sometimes before they even process your first sentence. An overly eager tone, aggressive, high-pitched, or the opposite, flat, robotic. It instantly signals salesperson equal threat to their subconscious.
Okay, triggers the alarm bells.
Exactly. Triggers resistance, puts them on guard, makes them wary. But the right tone, it creates emotional safety. It disarms resistance. It encourages people to open up, engage genuinely, makes you sound like a trusted peer, not a predator.
So what is the right tone?
Calm, curious, genuinely conversational. The book, The New Model of Selling, identifies 3 key voice qualities you need to master for success here.
Okay, 3 key tones. What are they?
First, the curiosity tone. This is your go-to for asking questions, especially discovery questions. It should be soft, slow, genuinely inquisitive, like you're truly exploring something with them, not interrogating.
Give me an example.
Instead of a blunt, "What's your budget?" Try a soft, curious, "I'm just curious, what's been your experience managing your team's workflow lately?" It makes them feel you're interested in their world, not just your agenda. Fosters safety.
Okay, curiosity tone. What's the second one?
Second, the skeptical, concerned tone. This one's gold when you need to gently challenge someone's thinking without making them defensive.
Gently challenge.
It's slightly hesitant, reflective, almost like you're thinking out loud with them, probing gently. So if they say, "Oh, we're too busy for that," you might respond with a slightly concerned, thoughtful tone. I hear you. Sounds like you're really swamped. I'm just wondering, if things keep going like this, what might be the long-term impact on, say, your team's morale?
Okay. Not confrontational, more like collaborative thinking.
Exactly. It invites them to consider consequences.
And the third tone, the confidence tone.
Okay. Confidence, not arrogance, though.
Definitely not arrogance. This is for when you're sharing expertise, a data point, making a recommendation. It needs to be calm, clear, firm. It conveys authority, but gently. It reassures, doesn't pressure. Think of a doctor delivering a diagnosis, confident, but not boastful. Your voice says, "I know my stuff, and I'm here to help." Builds credibility.
Curiosity, skeptical, concerned, confidence. Okay. Can you actually learn this stuff?
Absolutely. Voice control is a learnable skill, like an actor or musician practices. It takes deliberate attention, focused practice, self-awareness. So, for you listening, how do you practice this?
Well, first, record and review. Non-negotiable. Listen to your calls, meetings, whatever. What are your natural tendencies? Rushing. Too hyped. Robotic. Confident when you should be curious. You got to know your starting point.
Okay, record yourself. Then what?
Then, practice tones deliberately. Take your common questions, rehearse them using the curiosity tone, practice gently challenging using the skeptical tone, practice conveying expertise with calm confidence. Feels weird at first, but it gets natural.
Just like practicing anything.
Exactly. Also, pause and breathe. Intentional pauses give you control over pace and tone. They let the other person process and invite them to speak. Slowing down signals thoughtfulness, not desperation.
Good tip. Pausing.
Match and mirror subtly. Adjust your tone and pace slightly to build rapport. If they're slow and calm, don't rush them. If they're energetic, mirror slightly but don't mimic. That's creepy.
Right. Subtle mirroring.
And finally, rehearse an actor. Don't just memorize lines. Practice the emotional delivery until it feels real. An actor embodies the emotion. Do the same for your key conversation points. B, unlocking the gatekeeper, chapter 3.
Okay, voice is huge. Now, what about getting to the conversation? Let's talk about the gatekeeper, that persistent challenge.
Yes, the gatekeeper. Receptionists, EAs, junior managers, Their job is to protect their boss's time. The book offers this profound, almost counterintuitive mindset shift here.
Cheetah.
Don't see them as the enemy. See them as potential allies. Understand their goal. Protect the boss's time, not necessarily ruin yours. If you make their job easier, you're halfway there.
Okay, so what doesn't work with gatekeepers?
Sounding like every other salesperson. I'm calling to introduce, or can I speak to the decision maker? That triggers their defenses instantly. Being impatient, pushy, evasive, guarantees you won't get through. It just confirms their stereotype.
Right, makes them want to screen you out.
Exactly. So what does work, according to this approach, this 1-hour guide by Anil Nathu? Disarming honesty.
Disarming honesty? Like what?
Be transparent, acknowledge their role, show humility. Instead of demanding, try something like, hi, I know I'm probably catching you in the middle of something.
Acknowledge the interruption.
Right. And I'm likely just another salesperson calling, but I was hoping you might be able to point me in the right direction. That immediately lowers their guard because you sound different. Human. Self-aware.
Okay, and keep the focus off yourself.
Absolutely. Focus on potential value to their company or their boss, not your product features or how great you are. Frame it as a potential solution to a problem they might care about.
Okay, so for you listening, how do you actually do this? Actionable tips for the gatekeepers.
Right. First, avoid sales language. Ditch the cliches, the buzzwords. Use curious, thoughtful, respectful language. No opportunity or solution in the opening.
Sound like a normal person.
Exactly. Second, disarm with empathy and self-awareness. Acknowledge the interruption. I imagine you get tons of calls like this. Or, I know you're incredibly busy. Shows you get their world. Builds a little trust.
Empathy.
Third, use a natural, calm tone. Calm, confident, sincere. Like a normal, respectful conversation. Resist being overly professional or stiff.
Be human.
Yes. Fourth, ask for guidance, not direct access. Instead of, put me through to Miss Smith, try it. I was hoping you might be able to point me in the right direction regarding specific challenge trend.
Yep.
Appeals to their helpfulness, respects their knowledge.
Smart. Make them the expert.
Sort of, yeah. Fifth, be specific and relevant briefly, don't pitch, but briefly mention a common industry pain point without directly tying it to your product. I've helped others in your industry struggling with X and was hoping to understand if that's something Ms. Smith deals with.
Relevant context. Okay.
And finally, practice and refine, like any skill. Role play, record yourself if you can. Listen back, you'll get better at earning respect and being welcomed in, not screened out. 4. The 3-stage sales process, a human-centric journey.
Okay, that makes so much sense. It really is about being human first, isn't it?
Yeah.
Now let's get into this 3-stage framework. You mentioned it's the backbone of the new model.
It absolutely is.
It sounds like it's all about guiding, not pushing, at every step. A complete rethink of that old sales funnel idea. So how do we structure conversations to align with how people naturally make decisions instead of forcing them down our path?
That's exactly the right question. Acuff and Miner break it down into 3 distinct but importantly fluid stages. This isn't some rigid checklist. It's a flexible framework designed around human psychology. Low pressure feels natural to the buyer. It's about meeting them where they are, emotionally and psychologically, and then gently guiding.
Okay, stage 1, A, the engagement stage, chapter 9.
Stage 1 is the engagement stage. The core goal here is foundational. Lower resistance, disarm skepticism, create emotional safety.
Emotional safety, okay.
Think of it like this. The prospect's subconscious is asking, do I feel safe here? Is this person trying to sell me, or are they actually interested in me? Most typical openers, the salesy ones, they trigger immediate resistance. Here comes another pitch.
Right, so how do you engage differently?
True engagement happens when you sound genuinely curious, calm, neutral, respectful, like a real person you'd trust, not someone hitting a quota. Your tone, pace, initial words are crucial. A soft, neutral, curiosity-driven tone signals exploration, not pressure. It often leads to much longer, more open responses.
So this stage is about earning the right to keep talking.
Exactly. Earn the right to continue. Fail here, and the rest doesn't matter.
Okay, so for you listening, how do you master engagement?
Right, the actions. First, ditch the typical opener. No more, hi, I'm from X company, we help with Y. Try something disarming, like, I'm not sure if this is something you'd even be open to looking at, and I might be totally off base, but would it be okay if I asked a few quick questions just to see if it even makes sense for us to keep talking?
Wow, that's humble, permission-based.
Totally. Signals you're different, respects their time. Second, cultivate a calm and curious tone. Slow down. Lower your voice slightly. Avoid sounding overly excited or scripted. Aim for the tone of a thoughtful peer, genuinely interested.
Calm and curious. Got it.
Third, Always get permission to engage. Before diving into questions or topics, ask permission. Would it be okay if I asked about your current workflow? Or, do you mind if I share a brief observation? Maintains their control, reduces pressure.
Permission is key.
Absolutely. Fourth, avoid talking about yourself or your company. Spotlight is entirely on the buyer here. No credentials, no product talk. Focus only on creating a safe space for them.
All about them. Okay.
Fifth, signal. You're different. Use humble, self-aware language. I know you probably get tons of these calls, or not here to push anything, just curious.
Acknowledge their reality.
Exactly. And sixth, observe buyer reactions closely. Watch their cues, verbal, nonverbal. Are they rushed, hesitant, relaxed? Adjust immediately. If they're rushed, offer to reschedule. Respecting their time builds massive trust. B, the transitional stage, chapter 10.
Okay, so once you've built that initial safety, where do you go? What's the next stage?
That brings us to the transitional stage. Once engagement is solid, the core goal here is to guide the prospect to deeply internalize their problems, their limitations, and crucially, the emotional and financial costs of doing nothing.
The cost of inaction.
Exactly. This is a core insight. People usually buy when they feel the cost of staying the same is way greater than the cost of change. If they don't reach that conclusion internally, they won't move.
And this is where sales often fall apart.
The authors say most sales break down right here. Sellers rush it or skip it. They find a surface problem, my team's overwhelmed, but never dig into the real impact.
So this stage is about deepening the pain.
Not quite deepening the pain in a manipulative way, but helping them recognize the full consequences. Moving beyond just identifying a problem to understanding its emotional, operational, financial fallout. Using layered questions.
Layered questions like what?
Instead of just, do you have challenge X, you ask, how long has that been a challenge? Then, and what happens if that doesn't get solved in the next 6 months? What's the real impact? The key is self-diagnosis, self-persuasion. The realization must come from them. You're just the guide.
Okay, guiding them to see the consequences. So for you listening, actions for the transitional stage.
Right. First, deepen problem awareness. Go beyond the surface. If they say manual data entry, ask, what's the real cost? How does that affect morale? Accuracy, client service. Explore the emotional and financial impact.
Connect it to real pain points.
Yes. Second, introduce consequence questions. Guide them to explore doing nothing. If this isn't addressed, what are the ripple effects? Or worst case scenario if this continues?
Make them think about the future implications.
Precisely. Third, use non-threatening language and tone. Keep it neutral, safe, no judgment about their current situation. Your tone stays curious, empathetic.
Maintain that safety.
Always. Fourth, focus on their words, not yours. Listen way more than you speak. Echo their language back. If they call their problem a bottleneck, you call it a bottleneck. Shows you're truly listening.
Use their words. Smart.
Fifth, maintain curious, concerned tonality. Match your tone subtly to the sensitivity, genuine curiosity about their situation, authentic concern for their challenges.
Tone matches the topic.
Right. Sixth, and this is critical, don't introduce solutions yet. Let the emotional processing, the full realization of the problem's impact happen fully before you pitch anything. Rushing kills the self-persuasion.
Let the problem sink in first.
Exactly. And finally, validate concerns and feelings. When they express frustration, pain, worry, validate it. I can see why that would be a significant concern. Builds trust, makes them feel understood. See, the commitment stage, chapter 11.
Okay, engagement, then transition. Digging into the problem. What's the final stage? This must be the close, right?
Well, yes and no. It's the commitment stage. The goal is for the buyer to be emotionally and logically ready to decide. But, and this is a huge, but it's not about aggressive closing or arm twisting.
So forget always be closing.
Forget it completely. Old school ABC is counterproductive now. Buying is fundamentally about change, and people naturally resist change. Your job here is to ensure the perceived benefits truly outweigh the costs of staying put in their mind.
Okay, so how do you handle objections here?
In this model, objections aren't walls to break down. They're basically requests for clarity. Opportunities to guide them further in their self-persuasion. A no, or let me think, isn't always rejection. Often it means they need more info, reassurance, or time to process the emotions of change. Your goal is to uncover the real concern with curiosity, not defensiveness.
Curiosity, not defensiveness.
Right, okay.
Actions for the commitment stage for you listening.
All right. First, review buyer readiness. Before talking next steps, check. Is the emotional and logical foundation solid from the previous stages? Have they fully internalized the problem and the cost of inaction? Are they emotionally aligned?
Don't jump the gun.
Never. Second, ask permission to discuss next step. Keep them in control. Ask permission. Based on our chat, would it be okay if we explored what moving forward could look like? Or, if this feels like a fit, what's a natural next step for you?
Always asking permission.
Always. Third, use confirmation-based questions. Help them verbalize their own confidence. Instead of "wanna buy it," ask, does this feel like it would genuinely help solve the issues we discussed? Or do you feel this could make a real difference for your team?
Let them confirm it for themselves.
Exactly. Fourth, handle concerns with curiosity, not defensiveness. If an objection pops up, stay calm, curious. Don't rebut instantly. Ask, what's causing that hesitation? Or, could you tell me more about that concern? Find the real issue underneath.
Understand before responding.
Yes. Fifth, avoid assumptive closes. No pressure. Invite them to decide. What feels like the best next step for you? Or, considering everything, what are your thoughts on moving forward?
Empower their decision.
Right. Sixth, clarify their decision-making process. If they need to think, understand how they think. Makes sense. What steps do you usually follow for decisions like this? Or who else needs to be involved? What info do they need?
Understand their internal process.
Critical. And finally, set a clear, agreed-upon follow-up plan. End every interaction with specific next steps, agreed dates. Okay, so I'll send X, we'll chat Tuesday, 10 a.m. about Y. Does that work? Maintains momentum, mutual accountability. V, getting truly customer-focused and advanced listening, the art of understanding.
This framework is incredibly powerful, shifting from pushing to guiding. But how do we really shift our focus away from ourselves, our product, our quota, onto the customer? It feels like it goes way deeper than just being friendly, right? It's about profound understanding.
Exactly. And connecting this to the bigger picture, mastering sales and influence, it isn't about talking more or even talking better. It's fundamentally about understanding profoundly, getting into the mind, the world, the emotional landscape of the buyer.
Okay.
The book spends significant time on this because, honestly, without true customer focus and advanced listening, none of the other techniques will really land effectively. Getting truly customer focused, chapter 4. Many sellers genuinely believe they're customer focused. They give passionate pitches, show off features, answer questions.
Right, they think they're helping.
But ironically, that's often still a seller-focused mindset. Why? Because the interaction still revolves around their product, their presentation, their agenda.
Okay, I see the distinction.
True customer focus, as Acuff and Miner lay it out, means developing this deep, almost empathetic understanding of how the customer thinks, their specific problems, the emotional and practical impacts, their underlying drivers, their unspoken assumptions. It's really stepping into their shoes.
So your job changes fundamentally.
Completely. It becomes about guiding prospects to identify their own issues and emotionally connect with the urgency to solve them. You're not pointing out their pain, you're helping them feel it.
And what are common mistakes here? Things that show you're not truly customer-focused.
Talking about your credentials or company too early, using rigid, scripted questions that don't uncover emotional truths, assuming you understand their needs without asking deeply. Using enthusiasm as a substitute for real curiosity, that misplaced excitement can feel self-serving.
Right. Triggers resistance again. So for you listening, how do you become truly customer-focused?
Okay, actionable steps. First, shift your starting point. Begin every conversation intending to understand, not persuade. Actively delay talking about your stuff until the buyer has clearly articulated their challenges and the emotional impact. Signals respect.
Understand first.
Second, practice emotional listening. Pay attention not just to what they say, but how. Tone, frustration, fear, ambition. Validate those feelings. I can hear how frustrating that must be. Builds deep trust, encourages openness.
Listen for the emotion.
Third, ask self-persuasion questions. Instead of telling them their problem, ask questions that make them reflect. What happens if that challenge isn't solved in 6 months? Or, how would it impact your daily life if this persisted for another year?
Let them connect the dots.
Fourth, delay talking about your product for as long as possible. Let their awareness, their urgency about their problem develop fully. Don't short-circuit their emotional journey by jumping to solutions. The more they talk about their problem, the more urgent it feels to them.
Patience is key.
Crucial. Fifth, watch for signals of readiness. Listen for subtle cues. They're moving from problem awareness to solution curiosity. Longer answers, thoughtful pauses, genuine questions from them about how things could be different. Those are green lights.
Look for the buying signals. But the right kind.
The right kind, exactly. And sixth, customize your presentation using their language. When you finally do present a solution, use their exact words, phrases, emotional descriptors from the conversation, reinforces you listened, tailored it to them. Way more impactful than a generic pitch. B, listen and learn, chapter 6.
Okay, customer focus leads right into listening, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You mentioned advanced listening.
Absolutely. Building on customer focus, deep listening is highlighted by the authors as a high-income skill, not just in sales, but any field needing influence.
Why so valuable?
Because it's the only way to uncover those emotional drivers, unspoken desires, hidden objections, and build that profound, lasting trust. Most people, especially in important conversations, aren't listening to understand. They're hearing to respond, waiting for their turn to talk, missing crucial stuff.
Hearing to respond? Yeah, I think we all do that sometimes.
We do. But great conversations, whether sales or leadership, feel natural, not mechanical.
Right.
That only happens with full presence, true listening. The book outlines 4 levels of listening. You want to aim for the top.
Okay, 4 levels. What are they?
Level 1, ignoring. Lowest level. Distracted, multitasking, not present. Mind elsewhere, happens too often.
Guilty.
Level 2, pretend listening, nodding, but mind's rehearsing your next line. People usually sense this lack of real engagement.
And a fake listening.
Yeah. Level 3, selective listening. Only latching onto things relevant to your agenda, your product. Filtering out anything else. Missing context, emotional cues, hearing what you want to hear.
Okay, hearing with an agenda.
And level 4, empathic listening. This is the goal. Listening to truly understand their thoughts and feelings, without judgment, without agenda, fully present, grasping their perspective, emotions, full context. This makes them feel safe, understood, valued, allows them to really open up.
Empathic listening. That sounds like the gold standard. How can you, the listener, get better at this?
Okay, strengthening listening skills. First, clear mental clutter before every interaction. Before a call, meeting, important chat, take 30 seconds. Close tabs, silence phone, breathe. Commit to being fully present.
Center yourself.
Second, practice the pause before you respond. Train yourself. Wait 2-3 seconds after they finish speaking. Lets you absorb, gives them space, stops interruptions, signals thoughtful listening.
The power pause.
Third, echo key phrases to show you heard them. Repeating or rephrasing their important statements shows active listening, confirms understanding. So, high turnover has been a significant drain. What do you think is behind that?
Mirroring their key points.
Fourth, ask layered follow-up questions. Don't stop at surface answers. Go deeper. Uncover emotional, financial impact. If they mention a challenge, ask, how does that affect morale? Or what's the bottom line cost if this doesn't improve?
Keep digging gently.
Fifth, practice empathic listening daily. This isn't just for work, it's a life skill. Apply level 4 listening everywhere, family, friends, colleagues. Practice makes it natural.
Practice everywhere. Good advice.
And sixth, record and reflect on your talk-to-listen ratio. Part of that self-audit. How much do you talk versus listen? Dominating, interrupting, adjust. Aim for maybe 70-80% listening, 20-30% talking. Sequencing questions and ethical influence, mastery and beyond.
Okay, this is really where it all comes together, isn't it? True listening, customer focus. It must profoundly impact how we structure conversations. And critically, when we decide maybe we should step back entirely, understanding that sometimes the best sale is no sale at all.
Exactly.
So what does this mean for the long game, for relationships beyond the initial transaction? How do we turn one good interaction into a lasting partnership?
That's the ultimate question, isn't it? How do we structure interactions not just for a one-off win, but to build a foundation for lasting ethical influence and partnership? The authors really dive into the art of question sequencing and this vital concept of detachment from the outcome. It all leads to long-term relationship building. A sequence of questions. Chapter 7. Okay, question sequence. The order of your questions. It's critical. Often overlooked, but it can make or break a conversation.
The order matters that much.
Immensely. Buyers need time, psychologically, emotionally, to process their situation, the consequences of inaction, the benefits of change. Your job is to gently guide them through this internal discovery, step by step, not rush them.
Okay, so there's a specific flow.
Yes, the book introduces the Neuro-Emotional Persuasion Questioning, NEPQ framework. It's not random questions. It's a strategic series designed to align with how our brains naturally process information and make decisions. NEPQ helps prospects persuade themselves by moving through 3 essential mental stages.
3 stages of NEPQ. What are they?
First, current state awareness, where you begin. Questions here understand where they are now, current situation, existing processes. Neutral, non-threatening questions to open dialogue, build rapport. Like, tell me about how your current system handles client follow-ups.
Just understanding the as.
Exactly. Second, problem awareness. Once you get the current state, you transition to uncovering what's not working. But crucially, focusing on the emotional cost and the impact. These questions help the buyer recognize what's broken and why it matters. Like, what are the real implications if that follow-up process stays inefficient, lost clients? Team burnout. This is where the emotional connection to the problem starts.
Feeling the pain of the problem.
Right. And third, future state desire. Finally, once the problem and impact are felt, guide them to envision a better future. Questions here help them articulate desired outcomes, the benefits of solving their issues. Like, imagine 6 months from now, if follow-ups were seamless, what new opportunities would that create? Helps them mentally own the solution before you even present it.
Current state, problem awareness, future state desire.
Yeah.
Okay. How can you, listening, master this sequencing?
Okay. Actions for sequencing. First, internalize the 3 phases. Before important chats, mentally map questions to current, problem, future. Don't jump from problem to solution without exploring the emotional cost.
The framework.
Second, start with emotionally safe questions. Always begin neutral, non-threatening about their current state. Builds rapport, reduces resistance.
Let's ease into it.
Third, layer questions to build depth. Don't accept surface answers. Follow up with deeper probes, guiding reflection on impact. If they say inefficient, ask, how does that inefficiency show up? What's it cost you time, money, stress?
Go deeper.
Fourth, practice tonality with questioning. Match tone to intent. Curiosity for discovery, empathetic concern for consequences, confident curiosity for future possibilities.
Unknown matches the phase.
Fifth, avoid skipping steps. Common trap. Even if you know the answer, let them arrive at conclusions themselves. Rushing kills self-persuasion. Goal isn't speed, it's depth.
Let them have the aha moment.
Exactly. Sixth, customize your sequence. The framework's a guide, but personalize questions to their context, industry, challenges. Shows respect, preparation, feels relevant.
Tailored.
And seventh, debrief after each conversation. Review your question flow, their reactions. Where did it flow well? Where was resistance? Could a different question or tone have helped? Continuous improvement. Be to sell or not to sell, that is the question. Chapter 8.
Okay, sequencing is key. Now, this next idea sounds almost radical for sales. Sometimes not selling is the best move.
It's a pivotal, almost paradoxical insight from the new model of selling. Yes, sometimes not selling is the most strategic, powerful move. The best salespeople in this model are detached from the outcome.
Detached, meaning they don't care if they make the sale.
Not quite don't care, but they're neutral about getting a yes or no. Their focus is service, helping the prospect gain clarity, not hitting a target. This detached selling prevents pushiness, manipulation, desperation, fosters collaboration.
Okay. And there's a pressure paradox.
Yes. The more pressure a buyer feels, the less likely they are to buy. It's that primal threat response again. You must replace external pressure with internal perspective. Help them evaluate objectively, reach their own conclusions, don't force agreement.
Which is why permission-based dialogue is so important.
Exactly. Asking permission to ask questions, discuss next steps. It gives them control, builds trust massively, signals respect for their autonomy. If you're truly detached, you can ask tough questions without fear, because your mission is just helping them decide what's best for them.
Okay, so for you listening, how do you embrace this non-selling approach?
Right. First, embrace outcome neutrality. Your job. Explore, help clarify, see if a solution is right for them, not convince them. Your mantra. My job is not to sell, it's to help them decide.
Help them decide. Powerful.
Second, disarm with transparency and honesty. Don't be afraid to say, look, I'm not sure if what we offer is the right fit. Okay, if I ask a few questions to see if it even makes sense to keep talking. Disarms defenses. You're exploring, not pushing.
Takes the pressure off immediately.
Third, use permission-based language consistently. Always ask permission before shifting topics or asking sensitive questions. Okay, if we explore that further, or may I share an insight? Respects their autonomy.
Keep giving them control.
Fourth, look for emotional readiness, not just logical agreement. Don't push for a logical yes if their emotions aren't there. A coerced yes is fragile, leads to buyer's remorse.
Emotion has to align.
Fifth, replace assumptions with genuine curiosity. Instead of when you implement this, try if you were to move forward, how would that impact? Invites them into the decision.
If not when.
Exactly. Sixth, reframe your role. See yourself as a decision coach, a trusted advisor, not a seller. Your goal. Empower them to make their best decision, even if it's not buying from you.
Be a guide, not a closer.
And seventh, practice detachment in low-stakes scenarios. Make outcome-neutral language feel natural. Practice daily. Offer advice to a friend, then add, "But ultimately, your call." Suggest a restaurant, no pressure, but open to trying. C, taking the business relationship to the next level, Chapter 12.
Okay, detachment, ethical influence. This leads naturally to thinking beyond the first transaction, right? What happens after the sale?
This is where the true ethical long-term impact of the new model of selling really shines. The authors stress, the close is not the finish line. It's the starting line of a long-term relationship.
The starting line, okay.
Modern buyers, remember, are skeptical of purely transactional deals. They crave trusted advisors, partners who stay involved, add value, help with long-term success. Your ability to not just acquire, but retain and grow customers, turn them into advocates. That's true mastery. Ethical influence.
And the danger is just disappearing after the deal.
The trap of complacency, yes. Disappearing instantly erodes trust. Signals you only cared about the commission, your consistency, support, proactive engagement after the sale. Crucial for deep trust, loyalty, long-term value. This proves your customer-centric approach wasn't just an act.
Okay, so for you listening, how do you take relationships to the next level? Turn clients into advocates.
Actions for long-term relationships. First, redefine the close as the starting line. Immediately after a deal, shift your mindset. It's the beginning of proactive service and relationship building. Plan follow-ups around their success, not just asking for referrals.
Focus on their outcomes.
Second, collaborate on a 90-day success plan. Right after the sale, work with them. Set clear goals, milestones for the first 90 days. What does success look like for them? How can you help? Shows commitment.
Plan for their success.
Third, schedule value-add check-ins, not just upsell calls. Proactively schedule check-ins focused only on listening, supporting, gathering feedback, not sales calls. Ask, what's going well? Where can we improve? Any unexpected challenges?
Check in to help, not sell.
Fourth, share curated, relevant insights. Beyond your product, be valuable. Send relevant industry trends, articles, resources personalized to them, even if unrelated to your offering. Positions you as an expert partner.
Add value beyond the product.
Fifth, anticipate future challenges. Don't wait for problems. Proactively discuss potential obstacles or future needs. Thought about how X market shift might affect you next quarter.
Be proactive.
Sixth, ask for feedback and act on it. Actively solicit feedback service, product relationship, demonstrate integrity by listening and, crucially, acting on it. Build profound loyalty.
Show you listen and care.
And seventh, earn the right to expand the relationship. Only after consistently delivering value, helping them succeed, then ask permission to explore other ways to help them or other departments. Expansion through trust, not force.
New world, new model, who dis?
So wrapping up this deep dive into the new model of selling, the core message seems crystal clear. People don't want to be sold to. They want to be understood. This new model isn't just techniques. It's a total re-engineering of how you see yourself as a communicator, a leader, an influencer.
It really is. It challenges everything you might have learned about persuasion and replaces it with this human-centric approach rooted in neuroscience.
But the danger is slipping back into old habits, right?
Absolutely. Old habits die hard. Consistent practice, self-awareness, constant recalibration are vital to truly integrate these principles. But the reward, immense.
Wow, so
The authors brilliantly reframe sales and influence as a noble profession, where ethical persuasion creates real value, solves real problems, builds lasting relationships. It's about becoming someone people trust, listen to, genuinely want to work with, because you prioritize their best interests. That's the essence of what you get from this one-hour guide by Anil Nethu.
becoming that trusted advisor. Okay, final thoughts for you, the listener, on how to truly live this new model daily.
Okay, making it stick. First, revisit the 3 stages weekly. Don't let this be a one-off listen. Continuously refine engagement, transitional, commitment stages in every conversation. Analyze, improve.
Keep practicing the stages.
Second, create a personal sales influence journal. Document what works, what triggers resistance, new insights after important chats. Active reflection internalizes it.
Journaling for growth.
Third, embrace the detachment mantra. Before interactions, repeat. My job is not to sell, is to help them decide. Powerful mindset shift. Removes internal pressure.
Help them decide.
Fourth, role play with intentional feedback. Practice tonality, sequencing, objection handling with someone you trust. Get honest feedback.
Practice makes perfect.
Fifth, coach others on these principles. Teaching reinforces learning. Share these insights. Make them muscle memory by explaining them.
Teach to learn.
Sixth, reread key chapters or re-listen to this deep dive. Let the insights become intuitive, not just intellectual. Repetition is key.
Reinforce the learning.
And finally, celebrate small wins in influence, not just closed deals. Acknowledge moments of real influence. That's a good question. Never thought of it that way. Even before a deal closes. Those show you're building trust, guiding self-persuasion.
Recognize the moments of connection.
Exactly. Those are the real wins.
What a deep dive. You now have, hopefully, a really comprehensive understanding of why the new model of selling is so revolutionary, not just for sales, but truly for all human communication, any situation where you need to inspire action.
And this approach really encourages you to consider, what if the greatest leverage and influence comes not from compelling others, but from truly empowering them to choose for themselves?
A powerful question to leave with.
It reshapes how we connect, how we lead, how we build those lasting relationships.
Thank you for joining us today for this insightful discussion. Buy the book at the 1 Hour Guide website for more business insights and to continue your journey into mastering ethical influence.